A Hairy Problem by Blue Bastard. Chapter 2. Beginnings of Issues. Applejack woke up to find herself staring at a blue wall. It was hard enough just to open her eyes. To say she felt like crap was an understatement, but at least she knew she was safe. This could have been anywhere else other than Ponyville General Hospital, which would explain why she was in a bed. Had something heavily around her neck, and one of those electronic heart rate monitors attached to her right foreleg. Her vision slowly was getting better. She could see her familiar brown Stetson hanging on the coat rack next to the door, waiting for its owner to wear it again. But she didn't remember asking any pony to put it there. Then again, she didn't remember what. "Oh no!" exclaimed the orange mare as she sat up in bed. Her friends! Where were they? What happened? She only grew more panicked as the hazy memories returned. The amount of time since the attack was unknown, but all she could remember was some creature attacking her in the forest, and her passing out when her friends rushed in to help. Thankfully, as she glanced to her right, she didn't need to worry. Her friends were very much alive, having kept vigil over her room overnight, as evidenced by all of them having fallen asleep. And she couldn't help but chuckle when she saw Rainbow, curled up in her chair and sucking on her hoof like a baby. Somehow, that didn't surprise her. But that didn't change the fact that there was something in the forest that was dangerous. But more importantly, also silent as the night when moving about. Sure, the Everfree Forest was full of dangerous creatures such as the manticore, cockatrice, crocodile, and most dangerous of all, the timberwolves. In fact, AJ was thinking it was a timberwolf that attacked her. But while extremely vicious, they do have the problem of not being as stealthy as they would like to be, since all that wood in their bodies gives them away. They also extremely had bad breath, which this creature that attacked her did not. Well, she didn't actually remember smelling it, but even if it was as bad, it wasn't nearly as noticeable as the breath of a timberwolf. AT also reasoned that Twilight had come up with this rationale beforehand, and sent a letter off to the princess to let them know of this new problem. That was when Nurse Pony entered the room. AT automatically identified her as Nurse Redheart, who had been both at the temporary emergency clinic after the big bad incident, and been annoyed by Pinky's antics when the cake twins had been born. "Oh good, you're awake," Redheart said, the relief in her voice showing concern for AJ's health. "You gave the hospital quite a scare when your friend over there was teleporting both you and the rest of her party to our front door. You're lucky she acted so quickly. You were losing a lot of blood by the time you arrived last night. Had she not acted as quickly, you might have received permanent brain damage." "Nurse," Applejack asked in response, "does my family know I'm here?" "Of course. After you were admitted, your Pegasus friends flew off to let them know. You have some dedicated friends, Miss Applejack. Normally, visitors aren't allowed past 8 p.m., but since you six have stayed Equestria so many times, you all got to be the exception."
"Thank you, Nurse."
"Of course. However, when you were admitted, all we could get out of your friends' rapid-fire talking was that something bad had happened in the Everfree Forest involving some contraption called a car. Do you think you could give us a little more information on why that relates to what we're guessing was a Timberwolf attack?"
Applejack had to think on that one. She couldn't outright say it wasn't a Timberwolf. She knew it wasn't, but Nurse Redheart probably wouldn't believe her, and or thinks he actually had brain damage for the blood loss.
Then again, whatever had attacked her had been vaguely wolf-like, so it wouldn't be exactly lying if she said as such. Maybe she could keep this as a secret, as Twilight would most likely have recommended in the face of the new threat in Everfree. Making up her mind, Applejack decided to tell as much as she felt comfortable in telling Redheart.
"Well, this whole thing started when I learned my sister was trying to invent this thing called a car with her friends." The hospital staff didn't know what to make of Applejack's injury, or rather, how fast the injury had healed. Most ponies lucky enough to survive a Timberwolf bite to the jugular and not lose enough blood for there to be brain damage takes weeks or even months to recover to the point of being able to function normally.
But with Applejack, the wounds had stopped bleeding within 12 hours of her receiving them, and after a full day of her staying in the hospital insisted on it in case the wounds were infected or worse, they had completely healed up. Her fur had even grown back, so was there no sign of her ever actually been nearly fatally wounded. The doctors didn't know what to make of it, although a popular theory was that Applejack was granted rapid healing abilities due to her connection with the elements. Objects of power so great even the princesses didn't fully understand them. With the mare herself showing no signs of the injury having any lasting effects, the staff had no choice but to let her go. Upon arriving home, Applejack was tackled by her family, all of them grateful that she was all right. Applebloom especially, who burst into tears while hugging her big sister like she was going to lose her again very soon, since she blamed herself for causing the whole situation in the first place due to building the car. The car itself, which was slightly damaged and had been left on the path in the Everfree Forest due to Twilight's quick reactions to the attack, was recovered a few days later. Applejack and friends, along with a few royal guards sent by Celestia to ensure safety, towed the vehicle to the barn where it had been conceived. There it would stay until the apples decided what to do with it. As for Applejack, she was just glad that after the whole ordeal, everything was returning to normal. She returned home after a shopping trip to buy more red barn paint, for which the Crown had also paid for, much to her relief. She noticed that she no longer felt afraid of the night. While she figured she must have been afraid of the thing that had attacked her, the fact that she knew what it generally was, and had even faced it, probably had something to do with her now absent fear. Probably something to talk with Twilight about, she mused as she stored the paint in the barn, this time well out of reach of Applebloom in case he tried building something like a larger card with a cardboard Twilight in the back. Why would Applebloom want another card with a fake Twilight in the back? AJ had no idea, but the idea struck her as funny. Then, drawn by the scent of fresh apple-baked food coming from the kitchen, the farm pony locked up the barn to join her family. All was as it should be.
Or so they thought!
Little did Applejack know of the horror of what was in store for her. It was about a month after the attack that Applejack started to show signs that maybe something wasn't right with her after all. At the time of the car being recovered, Applejack had intended to confront Sandalwood about the whole affair the next day. However, due to family matters, Sandalwood had been out of town for a week to return to Fairflanks. But now she was returning home, much to the joy of Lotus and Aloe, whose business had been markedly improving ever since Sandalwood lent her perfume expertise to them, and it pleased one orange pony who had a score to sell. It was the day after Sandalwood returned to her post at the spa, a bright sunny day which would never imply the dark times that were ahead for several of the town's residents. The town and the brown earth pony was busy organizing her stock's earth pros for the aromatherapy operations that recently added to their services. "Hey, Sandy," called out Lotus, "there's some pony here who wants to talk to you." "Okay, I'll be right there," answered Sandalwood, wondering who it could possibly want to talk to her. She found Applejack waiting in the lobby, wearing a rather unhappy expression. Sandalwood couldn't help but think it wasn't related to how the farm pony normally didn't visit the spa unless her friend Rarity was also present. Can I help you, miss?" asked Sandalwood. Even if the pony wasn't a regular customer, she wasn't going to turn her down. No discounts, though, even if she was a friend of Rarity's, since Sandy needed to prove the aromatherapy was possible. The perfumes she had to import were not cheap. "Yeah, we have a little problem to discuss," Applejack answered, coldly. That immediately got Sandalwood on edge. She had evidently done wrong by this pony, but for the life of her she could barely imagine why. "A problem? I apologize, but I don't know what you're—"
"You encouraged my sister and her friends to build a wooden metal death trap you call a car!"
Applejack interrupted. It was clear she was getting angry a bit, more so with every passing second. What? I did no such thing!" exclaimed Sandalwood. She legitimately didn't know what the other pony was talking about, or more worldly, how she knew about the car project. Then again, Sandalwood didn't even know who this pony was, unless— "Wait, your sister, as in Little Yellow Filly, Red Mane?"
"Yeah, my sister Applebloom and her friends. The orange Pegasus and the pale gray unicorn. You inspired them to make a car that nearly killed them, and later nearly indirectly killed me."
Sandalwood immediately knew what had happened. The expression on her face evidenced enough. "Oh, Celestia, look, I'm really sorry if they caused any trouble, but I did not say anything about them building a car."
"Then what did you say?"
Laying out a sigh, Sandalwood did her best to explain. "Okay, I know the fillies you're talking about. I told them what a car is, Lyra and I are working on making one ourselves, but don't tell anyone since it apparently involves parts from an incident no one wants to talk to me about. At least, according to Lyra. I had to. I don't know how they found out about it, but they wouldn't leave me alone. They also had known it was red somehow, so I told them the color to make it go faster. At no point did I ever suggest they actually go and try to make one themselves. Liar! Exclaimed Applejack, who suddenly rushed forward to throttle the other pony, slamming her into the wall. Sandalwood could only convey fear at the expression of rage on Applejack's face, which he could only describe as something as extremely unpony-like. What, Applejack? What are you doing? A very fancy-sounding voice suddenly shouted from behind her. Turning to see the source of the voice, Applejack was shocked to see it was none other than Rarity, who was also wearing her custom spa robe. Entered the orange mare. She then realized he was still holding Sandalwood by the neck, and reacted as she had known she was trying to kill the aromatherapy expert the whole time. Oh, Celestia, I'm so sorry! Applejack apologetically said, as she let go of Sandalwood, letting the gasping pony fall to the floor. I just don't know what came over me! Sandalwood, are you alright? Rarity said as she rushed to the other pony's side, letting her farmer friend try to reason out her actions from a moment ago. Yeah, I'll I'll be fine, replied the shaken but not stirred pony. Look, Applejack, is it? I understand your anger, but please understand that if I had any knowledge your sister and her friends were actually going to make a motorized vehicle, I would have done everything in my power to stop them. But next time, don't try to choke any pony, okay? Oh, yeah. AJ said in response. This wasn't like her. Not at all. Sure, she got angry, but never enough to actually try to choke another pony out of pure rage. Applejack, darling, are you feeling okay? Maybe you need to go home and lay it down. Let yourself relax. After all, you've been working those apple trees almost around the clock ever since the doctor said you were okay to go back to work. Yeah, well, maybe a rat, Rarity. Maybe this whole car business went to my head. With an announcement through nods, Applejack slowly turned and left the spa. What's her problem? Asked Sandalwood, once he was sure her assailant was out of earshot. I was trying to explain what I knew about the car business when she just screamed at me and tried to strangle me. Well, it is odd for somebody like Applejack to go that far to rage. She's been through a lot lately. How about I tell you about it while you demonstrate this new aromatherapy that Lotus and Aloe have just been gushing about? Of course, those who have been telling me that out of all the ponies in this town, you're the one who needs to experience my skills firsthand. And then, after you tell me why I nearly just died, we can discuss some of your new fashions. I must admit, I'm somewhat a fan of your work, Miss Rarity. Of course! Happily exclaimed Rarity, as the two headed back into the areas of the spa. I can tell we are going to get along just fine, you and I. Just fine indeed. Meanwhile, at Golden Oaks Library, R.I.P. Memorandum, Twilight was very pleased with the recent arrival to the collection. The book, a rare copy of Magical and Maniacal Monsters of Melissa's Mayhem, was one she had been wanting to look at for weeks, but due to recent scientific discovery involving the connection between the race known as Changeling and the formerly believed to exist Selkies, the wild horses of the West, most of the available copies had been checked out, and the waiting list so long that even the princesses had trouble putting Twilight at the top of the list. It had annoyed Celestia to the point that she ordered at Golden Oaks to receive the copy to be permanently added to his inventory. Yes, 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 yes! Twilight shouted over and over, bouncing around the library. Twilight, are you actually going to read that book, or just stare at the cover all day? Her companion, Spike, #1 assistant, and adopted younger brother. I'm sorry, Spike, but I've been wanting to look at this book for so long that the Phantom Princess was willing to get me a private copy. It's just so amazing! I read the letter that came with the book, Twilight. The princesses said that book is for the collection, not exclusively for you. Smugly commented the Purple Dragon. Honestly, Spike, you think anybody is going to check out a book like this? Kara Twilight, equally smug. As the librarian, she knew books that most of the ponies checked out in Ponyville, and, outside of Lyra and the transplant Sandalwood, nobody really checked out books dealing with scientific anomalies. and there was no way in hell Twilight was letting those two get their hopes on this book. The crazy ideas they might come up from this cover alone would be disastrous. Deflected, Spike just rolled his eyes and went back to re-advertising the Magic 101 for Young Unicorn section. Noting how poor the condition many of the books were, no doubt from unicorns trying higher-level spells on them, such as setting them on fire, or attempting to turn the books into daring-do fanfiction. Oh, sure, Twilight, that one time, and you're never going to let me forget it! Trixie agrees. That is completely a falsification. Trixie was trying to turn it into Trixie fanfiction. While Spike went back to work, Twilight decided to set her new book aside, while she worked on her own reports. Which was another summary of the recent letters to the princess both she and her friends had sent in the past few months. Had she given in to temptation and read the book then and there, most of the events she would later be involved with could have been prevented. "Lyra!" exclaimed Bonbon. Jeffrey had just delivered the mail, and much to Bonbon's annoyance, another one of those letters arrived. "Be right there," called out the unicorn. Bonbon just rolled her eyes and dropped the mail on the kitchen table. There needed to be an intervention, now, or else Bonbon was going to lose her mind. Finally, Lyra entered the kitchen with a smile on her face, greeting the other pony with a smile. "What's up?" "I'm not so sure how much more I can take of this, Lyra. This is the 5th letter in 2 months from your father. I know it's to you, but don't pretend we both don't know what it's about." Lyra's face fell. Her father had been sending letters about the same subject for some time, but she figured he stopped after a while. But if Bonbon was going to snap before then, Lyra had no choice. "Fine. I'll call him later when I know he's home, and we'll settle it then and there." "Please, Lyra, if your father ruins this relationship, then I don't know what I'll do!" Bonbon exclaimed, while trying to avoid breaking down into tears. Always ready to support her close friend, Lyra walked over and draped a foreleg over Bonbon, drawing her into a hug. "I know how much chocolate chip means to you, Bonnie," Lyra soothed. "Even if he found one of these letters, I know he loves you too much for this to break up with you." "I know, it's just that. You know the trouble I've had to Stallions. I don't want to lose Chip. I know he's my special son pony, and we're meant to be together. So for your father to... Bonbon, I know it's not going to happen. I know my dad thinks we're a lesbian couple, even though I told him many times we're just flatmates. I think he just wants me to get married, even though he knows I'm straight. I swear to Luna, if this one even suggests yet you secretly want to have my babies, I'll have him committed to an insane asylum. I'd do it myself if that was the case. I like you, Lyra, but suggesting that I'm that much in love with you to the point of physical impossibility, well, that's just crazy. Then again, you believe in humans and managed to convince me to give you that shed outside that weird-ass machine project. So crazy must run in the family. The two friends shared a good laugh. Lyra's fascination was a point of mockery, but the unicorn took it in stride. And while many ponies insisted she and Bonbon were a gay couple, they were just extremely close friends. "Speaking of that thing you're hiding in the shed, are you willing to tell me more about why it allegedly nearly got Applejack killed?" "I told you, Bonnie. The CMC were tried building their own car. They crashed it in the Everfree, and when trying to salvage for parts, a Timberwolf attacked her. But this car, well, let's just say when it's done, you'll make the fastest confection deliveries in all of Equestria." Big Mac, ever the stallion with small words and stoic expressions, was worried. Something was wrong with his little sister. That much was obvious. She'd come home from town earlier today, looking down about herself. Enough of a character change that Big Mac had to ask what was wrong. "Nothin'," Applejack responded despondently, before moving toward the house. Watching silently, Big Mac watched the light in her room go on and then turn off, indicating she had gone to bed. But at this hour? Very much unlikely. The sun was never above the horizon when AJ finally went to her bed. Not as long as she had been alive, or even when she was sick. Or was she sick? The thought hit Big Mac like a falling anvil. It had been a silent agreement between himself and Granny to never reveal the truth as to why the Apple family had a grandmother and 3 kids, but not the parents. As far as Applejack and Apple Bloom knew, along with the rest of the town, The parents had died from an extremely rare case of pneumonia during a freak magical storm. But the real cause of death was something Big Mac felt they never needed to know. He had been told at the time, and it nearly destroyed him emotionally. He could not let the same happen to his sisters. But the last time an Apple family member went to bed this early, Big Mac feared the worst. There was still time, though, so he had to act fast. Informing Granny and Apple Bloom of his intentions, the Red Stallion cut loose and turned a 15-minute walk to town into a 5-minute gallop. He'd never run so hard in his life. But his family may be on the line, and he couldn't lose them to the same thing that claimed their parents. Spike was shocked to find the knocking on the door was from Big Mac, who was also uncharacteristically out of breath. Before Spike could even ask what he was doing there, the mighty pony had one request to make of the dragon.
Spike, I'll need to send a letter to Canterlot now!
Chapter 3 Questable's State of Mind. Applejack had slept all night after he had gone to bed early, but right on schedule, so he woke up around the same time as Celestia's sun overtook the night sky. But even for an early riser like her, she couldn't help but feel a bit more energetic. It's just she needed to move. Striking it off with the rationale because of her lack of activity yesterday, she descended to the kitchen to join the rest of the family for breakfast. While talking, never was something the apples did most of the time of this day. Applejack couldn't help but feel that the atmosphere was significantly quieter than usual.
Applejack, dear, are you alright?
Asked Granny Smith, concerned by her male grandchild, as she trotted up to the table to sit down.
I'm fine, Granny,
replied A.J., her emerald eyes shifting left and right, an involuntary body motion that confessed to meaning that what the mayor could not in words.
Be honest with us, sis.
Asked Big Mac.
Rarity showed up sometime after y'all went to bed to check up on you. So message something about y'all losing your temper. You mind explaining that?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the most dialogue I've ever done with Big Mac in a fanfic in a long time. A.J. gulped. It was a rare occurrence when Big Mac said more than 10 words in one breath, much less multiple sentences. When he did, that meant he intended to get a message across, or was dead serious on getting an answer. So he figured it was there.
Alright, fine, I made it.
Yesterday wasn't my brightest moment, the now shaved mayor said, her fur turning slightly red as she looked down at the table. Worried for Applejack's health, Granny decided to go play up her breakfast to make sure she could still eat. A.J. gave her a small smile when the plate of foods was set before her, continuing.
I went to go see Sandalwood at the spa to sell this mare about the car thing the Crusaders built.
Apple Bloom noticeably rolled her eyes at the mention of the car. While her interest in pursuing further adventures with the machine was long gone, the fact that it was still being brought up annoyed her. A.J. glanced over at her younger sister before resuming her tale.
I'm not quite sure what happened, but I somehow ended with my hooves around Sandalwood's neck, and against the wall Rarity happened to come in.
The rest of the family was, naturally, quite shocked at the idea that the normally level-headed pony could get so violent as the story progressed.
Come to think of it, I really can't remember what it was I originally was going to tell her before I lost it being related to the car,
Applejack finished, looking downcast at the memory. It was Apple Bloom who spoke up next.
Well, Sirius, why did you even need to talk to her? She may have given my friends an idea to build that thing, but she didn't make us do it.
Well, I believe I wanted to confront her about the whole thing, 'cause I needed to blame some pony for all the trouble. That's usually how things end up happening around here. It's always some pony causing all the trouble.
But it's not her fault that you were attacked by,
interjected Apple Bloom, only to catch herself right before mentioning what she believed to be a touchy subject. The sudden stiffening of both Big Mac and Granny Smith told Applejack that they believed the same. Giving her family a smile, she told them,
That's all right. No need to be all careful around that subject.
Apple Bloom's right. Sandalwood wasn't responsible for what happened to the forest.
I'm just trying to find a scapegoat. Hopefully, Rarity might help me find a way to make it up to her.
Feeling that she was living up to her reputation of honesty about wanting to make amends for her own mistakes, Big Mac gave Applejack a smile and a simple nod of approval. The peace settled, the family resumed the usual routine of small talk around the table. But among it all,
Applejack couldn't help but feel something was off about the food today, as if it had too much apple in it. But that was ridiculous. She had apples for every home meal since she was a small filly, and even back then she could eat as much as Big Mac was right now.
I'm Applejack. More apple fritter.
Still, the feeling was enough that the orange mare decided she might get lunch in town. Something not based in apples in any way. Yeah. It wasn't that she didn't like apples as much anymore. She just needed a little more variety.
Angel, you sure you haven't been watching these movies without my permission?
The white bunny, personal pet of Fluttershy, nodded his head vigorously. His owner sighed as he looked at the kind scene. A recent new development in equestrian technology was the condensing of movies into a more portable form that could be played back on small boxes called television sets or something. Fluttershy couldn't exactly remember. Princess Luna, still riding high on the novelty of the technological advances made in her 1,000-year absence, thought that the whole idea was fantastic, and had multiple sets sent out to the bearers of the elements to share the glory that was moving in black and white images. However, since the technology was still so new, very few movies existed on the new media form known as VHS tapes. Okay, kids, for those of you youngsters who are reading this, VHS tapes were these little black rectangular devices that you would put into your VCRs. These allowed you to play movies much in the same way as DVD players and Blu-rays. They lacked special features and usually had unskippable commercials. That was your history lesson for today. I feel old. Right now, Fluttershy's entire collection contained only 3 movies. The Secret Life of Trees documentary, of course. High School Musical, yes! Uh-oh. And Pony Rambo, First Blood, violent action film. Correction. It was just called First Blood. I know technicality, but just wanted to prove my point. Fluttershy loved the first one, and secretly liked the songs the second, but the only reason he even had the third one was because it came with the whole setup, as he wasn't about to return a part of a gift to the princess. Truthfully, the rather horrifying level of violence and profanity wasn't her kind of film. The problem was that recently, she had been finding Pone Rambo in the VHS player. Since he only tried to watch it one time and had put it back on the shelf after 5 minutes, she knew it wasn't putting the tape back in. And Angel was swearing up and down it wasn't him. So she didn't know what to think.
Maybe one of the other animals keeps putting it back in.
Fluttershy mused as he repackaged the tape and put it on a higher shelf than usual. The sign wasn't really worth looking into, since, while moving the movie away might have highly been not for safe watching in her opinion, it was still just a movie that couldn't do any active harm. She walked away to tend to her animals outside. Once he was out the door, however, Angel let out a huge sigh of relief. Obviously, he had actually been the one who kept putting Pony Rambo back in the player. Gee, I had $5 writing on Discord. A process he figured out when Fluttershy had left in the middle of the night a month ago to help her orange friend, and didn't return until the middle of the next day. Personally, he thought the documentary was boring as hell because the narrator kept saying, "The launch!" over and over, and the musical nearly made him throw up. You lack taste, Angel. But it was different with Pone Rambo. To him, the movie was an instant masterpiece. The title character, a muscle-bound Pegasus who could pass a snowflake's brother, was a no-nonsense badass who fought a one-pony war against the oppressive powers of the Changeling Empire to free all of Equestria. This sounds more like First Blood Part 2. Angel viewed him as a role model. Oh, God's run. Of course, what Pone Rambo could do that Angel couldn't was reach the location Fluttershy had moved the tape to. He knew he couldn't get at it without making some kind of stairway, and if he did, then it would reveal that he had been lying. But then again, Angel had barely seen the whole movie 5 times and could replay it in his head, so maybe the tape wasn't even necessary. Then, an even more novel idea came to him. What if instead of just watching Pone Rambo and wanting to be like him, He could go be on his own Pone Rambo and have his own adventures. A grin emerged on the bunny's face as the idea grew in appeal. He needed to make his own costume and figure out how to give himself a 5 o'clock shadow, but it could be done. And it would be better than anything the movie could do, sort of using changelings as bludgeoning weapons against other changelings. Okay, show of hands, audience. Who here has seen Son of Rambo? Only me? I'm the only one? You people need to watch more movies. Having spent the early morning doing the usual chores around the farm, namely apple bucking and livestock feeding, Applejack went to talk to Rarity to see if the old ordeal with Sandalwood could be fixed. After getting her overreaction off her chest to the family, she was in brighter spirits and was optimistic. Today was the day the whole car ordeal could be put behind her, and they could finally scrap the infernal thing for parts, and she could get on with life. Having met Rarity at her home business of Carousel Boutique, the fashionista was more than willing to set up a luncheon at the local restaurant and invite Sandalwood so the two ponies could settle things. Soon, Applejack found herself waiting at the Bannered Mare, a recently opened establishment that straddled the line between the typical tavern offerings and high-class dining, while Rarity had gone off to fetch Sandalwood. While Applejack personally wouldn't have minded the atmosphere of a pub in lieu of an outdoor dining experience, she was following Rarity's read on this since she had to make a good impression. As soon as the approaching ponies came in view of Applejack, Sandalwood understandably blanched and slowed her pace.
Rarity, don't tell me she's the third guest at this little get-together,
Sandalwood said, starting to shuffle backwards slowly. Giving the earth pony a friendly smile, Rarity asserted,
"Trust me on this, Sandy. She is one of the best ponies in this town. I do believe I told you why she got a little, physical with you last time, right?"
Sandalwood cautiously nodded, and while she hadn't suffered any lasting injuries from the previous day's assault, she didn't know what to expect from Applejack now. Acknowledging the nod, Rarity continued.
"Well, she's informed me that she wants to apologize to you and make up for yesterday. You don't need my word to trust her. She is the element of honesty for a reason."
As the duo approached, Applejack put on the best smile she could to convince Sandalwood she wasn't in immediate danger. Sandalwood, in turn, gave a nervous smile right back. It was clear that this was a situation no pony wanted to be in. After Rarity and Sandalwood had sat down, Applejack immediately tried to say something, but was silenced by the other earth pony.
"I know what you're going to say," spoke Sandalwood, "but I just want to let you know I understand why it happened."
"You do?" asked the confused Applejack. Then it clicked, and so she gave an annoyed look at Rarity, who gave her an embarrassed smile.
"I'm sorry, darling, but I felt it was only necessary she understand why, or else we wouldn't even be here right now, I'll bet."
"Look, Applejack," interjected Sandalwood,
"I think things just got off on the wrong hoof yesterday. You were still thinking about the safety of your sister, and I admit I shouldn't have told him about the car thing. Believe it or not, family is a big thing for me, too. So don't think I'm just saying what you want to hear."
AJ couldn't help but raise an eyebrow at that. Noticing the facial expression, Sandalwood sighed.
"Let me guess. Piggy told you about those human fantasies where Rarity here is my real mom, and I'm adopted by humans or some nonsense."
At that, it was Rarity's turn to react, rolling her eyes while Applejack nodded, prompting Sandalwood to continue.
"The truth is that, while yes, I do agree with Lyra that humans existed, and I have an interest in them, I don't have so deep-seated hatred of my own family to the point I want to change species. And I don't even know where the whole Rarity is my mom thing came from. Seriously, do we even look related to you?"
"I can't say that you do," answered Applejack. Sandalwood was about to go on again, apparently preparing to make a rant about how it was an undeserved reputation, but it was Applejack's turn to apologize. "I'll get it. Think you got our facts wrong. It happens all the time. But when are you going to let me do the thing we're all here for?"
"Oh, right. The apology thing. Sorry."
"Well, anyways, I am truly sorry for what I did yesterday. There really isn't an excuse for hurting you the way I did. Whatever got to me, I promise you it won't happen again."
For all her doubts, Sandalwood had to admit Rarity was right.
She could tell Applejack was truly sorry. Even after it had been the spa pony day, didn't blame the farmer for what happened. If there was one word Sandalwood would use to describe Applejack at that point, It would be trust, without a doubt.
Well, if you promise, then I guess I can let you off the hook,
said Sandalwood, the implied remaining animosity obviously offering nothing more than some dark humor on her part. Rarity, not having to play the role of peacekeeper, as he secretly feared, was pleased the problem was resolved quickly.
Ha! Here comes our waiter with the menus. I hope you ladies brought your appetites. I hear the food here is exquisite,
announced the unicorn, and she was correct. The food was delicious. Applejack secretly happy that her own little issue with food seemed to be fulfilled by eating things not related to apples. Everything was going to be fine. Then came dessert.
I usually don't have dessert even at the fanciest of restaurants,
chatted the unicorn.
A young lady must watch her shape after all. However, I do feel I can afford to indulge myself. Either of you ponies find something you like on the dessert menu.
The tiramisu looks alright, but I think I could go for anything right now, commented Sandalwood.
What about you, Applejack?
While it appeared to Rarity and Sandalwood that their friend was looking at the menu, she was in fact looking slightly above the edge at something she didn't realize she wanted more than anything. A few yards behind Sandalwood were none other than the cakes, out for an afternoon stroll. What was drawing Applejack's attention, however, were the cake twins, Pumpkin and Pound.
So young, so full of baby fat, so limbs, so weak and defenseless.
Kike?
Droned the semi-hypnotized mare, drool starting to appear at the corners of her mouth as she looked hungrily at the infant ponies.
You okay there, AJ?
Inquired Sandalwood, oblivious to where the mare was staring right behind her. Snapping in back to reality, and secretly horrified what she had just been imagining, it was a stroke of luck that the dessert menu happened to have a triple chocolate mousse cake option. Sorry about that. It's just that this chocolate cake here looks so darn good, stated the orange mare, managing to save herself from an awkward and possibly disturbing explanation.
Actually, you're right. The cake does look good. In fact, I think I'll go with that too. Then I guess we'll all have the triple chocolate mousse cake then,
exclaimed Rarity, looking down the mare.
If you would be so kind, sir, we each like a slice of the chocolate mousse, please.
The cake was good. Applejack was at least thankful she didn't have to choose something that was against her palate, lest she tried to fake enjoying it. But even after making amends with Sandalwood and heading back to the farm, Applejack could not stop thinking about how she legitimately entertained cannibalism as a dessert option. With the cake twins, no less. There's something seriously wrong about me. No doubt about it. Tomorrow I'm going to go see Twilight first thing in the morning. Her goal set, the disturbed mare did her best to put those horrible thoughts out of her mind as she set back to doing her farm work. It helped, but only slightly brought any sense of peace to her mind at the end of the day. And even then, she was troubled by nightmares from which she only wanted to escape. Big Mac was inert in the physical realm, but lucid in the plane of dreams. The letter he had sent through Spike had been most unusual, for it was a request for Princess Luna to meet with him in his dreams. While the story Scootaloo spoke of what involved Luna visiting her dreams during that camping trip she, her friends, and their sisters had taken to Winsome Falls was questionable, if it was true, then help for Applejack could come faster than possible a few years ago. Scootaloo's story proved true, as he did not have to wait long. Appearing out of thin air, the Princess of the Night stepped forward to meet with the Red Stallion, as he requested in his dreams. As per custom, he knelt before her request.
Thou art Big Macintosh, the one who requested my presence for a matter of most importance?
Asked Luna.
I do hope that this is actually important and not, wanting to ravish me. You have no idea how often that happens.
Oh, sure, that one time, and you'll never let me, Trixie, forget it.
Your Highness,
said Big Mac as he stood back up.
Believe me when I say that this here matter is of the utmost importance. You see, my sister Applejack.
Yes, I am familiar with her.
Well, seeing her friends say she got attacked by some wolf thing in the Everfree. Well, she seems to have made recover on the outside. I still think she needs help on the inside.
Luna looked incredulously at the stallion.
Then, shouldn't she go to a doctor?
Not that kind of problem, Your Highness. I don't think conventional medical help can answer why she's having those nightmares. I can still hear her screaming about them from down the hall, and I'm asleep and here with you.
The princess merely smiled. Ah, so she does need some help in her dreams. I think I can manage that. Then just let me take a look. Then she vanished, leaving Big Mac alone once again. As he, sadly, expected, Luna was immediately back in his head with a very different expression. One of horror, shock, and repulsion. By my sister's beard! What is happening to her? Exclaimed the princess. This is a matter most serious, but for the life of me I cannot fathom what is wrong without being very powerful in dark magic. Now Big Mac was concerned. If the Princess of the Night didn't know what was going on, then perhaps it was already too late for his sister.
Princess Luna, when y'all were back and your sister was still living in those ruins in the Everfree Forest, were there any kind of special rules besides timber rules around in those days?
Luna had to think for a moment. Even though those memories would be much more recent for her than for Celestia, 1,000 years of isolation and sharing a body with Nightmare Moon does funny things to one's memories. Now that you mention it, the worst of all wolves I saw lurking around in the surrounding forest, but always from a distance, and never up close. Celestia tended to rebuff my questions about them, too, come to think of it. A brow furrowed at another memory being treated as a kid's sister by Celestia in the old days. It hadn't ended well for any pony. Big Mac only frowned, but his true feelings remained hidden. He knew Celestia knew. After all, she had been present during the aftermath of what happened to his parents. Applejack and Apple Bloom wouldn't remember. A.T. was barely 4, and the youngest sister only a foal, still at the hospital in natal care. He tended to avoid Celestia when he had to as a result, hence his absence from the Summer Sun Festival that the farm had catered. But if it was happening again, then there was no choice.
Princess, could y'all perhaps bring your sister in here as well?
At the question, Luna had to step back. What? Why do you want Celestia in here? I mean, I could bridge dreams since he's asleep, but it would be far easier to...
No, I can't really explain why. But if what I suspect is true, then none of us could be wasting time for comfort while Applejack.
He couldn't finish the sentence. The mere thought that it was happening again was enough for him to start tearing up. Deciding that Applejack Big Mac wouldn't accept any alternatives, Luna vanished to go visit her sister's dreams. It took a long time from Big Mac's perspective, when it really was just 5 minutes of real time. But eventually, both Luna and Celestia managed to enter his mind. Hello, Big Macintosh, greeted the Sun Alcone.
Your Highness,
He answered back, bowing once again, but quickly getting back up.
I believe I don't need to explain the situation.
Luna, who at this point was getting a bit miffed at being left in the dark about this, demanded, I have to disagree! Some pony is going to tell me what's going on in Applejack's head, or I'll... Luna! The Sun Princess snapped at her sister. This was a rare occurrence after Celeste Luna's return, but like Big Mac, actually holding conversation longer than a minute. When it happened, there was something serious going on. Her sister silenced, and Celestia sighed before returning. I apologize for not letting you know sooner, but what we're dealing with is no normal dark magic. Turning to Big Mac, she asked in an annoyed tone, I also believe that when news of this incident was given to me, that the assailant was a timber wolf. That is no longer the case, is it? The stallion shook his head.
No, Your Majesty. I don't believe that was a timber wolf that hurt my sister. I'll think.
Once again, he couldn't finish the sentence, but now the waterworks were starting. Walking into the embrace, the emotional pony with a wing, Celestia could only hope that this didn't end the same way it did for the apples so long ago. On the other hand, Luna's eyes was visibly twitching. She was trying so hard not to break out the royal Canterlot voice, namely because no pony was telling her what the buck was wrong with Applejack, and so Luna could not do anything to help. What made it especially maddening is that Luna had undergone something similar, more or less, when she was corrupted into Nightmare Moon. For one of the ponies who had saved her that day, only to possibly befall it herself. Again! Nightmare Applejack. Her mouth opened and was about to let the RCV fly when Celestia gave her a look that dare not blast with full clarity.
Luna, I think it's time I told you about werewolves.